Anthropology, Paper 1, 1.1 Meaning, Scope and Development of Anthropology. 1.2 Relationship with other disciplines, social sciences, behavioral sciences, life sciences, medical sciences, arts sciences, and humanities. 1.3 Main branches of anthropology, their scope and relevance. A. Social cultural anthropology, biological anthropology, archaeological anthropology. D. Linguistic anthropology. 1.4 Human evolution and emergence of man. A. Biological and cultural factors in human evolution. B. Theories of organic evolution, pre-Darwinian, Darwinian, and post-Darwinian. C. Synthetic theory of evolution. Brief outline of terms and concepts of evolutionary biology. Dawes rule, Cope's rule, Gauss rule, parallelism, convergence, adaptive radiation, and mosaic evolution. 1.5 Characteristics of primates, evolutionary trend and primate taxonomy, primate adaptations, arboreal and terrestrial, primate taxonomy, primate behavior, tertiary and quaternary fossils primates, living major primates, comparative anatomy of man and apes, skeletal changes due to erect posture and its implications. 1.6 Phylogenetic status, characteristics and geographical distribution of the following: A. Pleo pre-Pleistocene hominids in South and East Africa, Australopithecines. B. Homo erectus, Africa, Paranthropus, Europe, Homo erectus, Heidelbergensis, Asia, Homo erectus javanicus, Homo erectus piccinicus. C. Neanderthal man, La Chapelle aux Saints, classical type, Mount Carmel, progressive type. D. Rhodesian man, E. Homo sapien, Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, and Chancelet. 1.7 The biologist basis of life, the cell, DNA structure and replication, protein synthesis, gene mutation, chromosomes, and cell division. 1.8 A. Principles of prehistoric archaeology, chronology, relative and absolute dating methods. B. Cultural evolution, broad outlines of prehistoric cultures. 1. Paleolithic, 2. Mesolithic, 3. Neolithic, 4. Chalcolithic, 5. Copper Bronze Age, 6. Iron Age. 2.1 The nature of culture. The concept and characteristics of culture and civilization. Ethnocentrisms vis-a-vis cultural relativisms. 2.2 The nature of society. Concept of society, society and culture, social institution, social groups and social stratification. 2.3 Marriage. Definition and universality. Laws of marriage, endogamy, exogamy, hypergamy, hypogamy, incest taboo, type of marriage, monogamy, polygamy, polyandry, group marriage, functions of marriage, marriage regulations, preferential, prospective, and proscriptive, marriage payment, bride wealth and dowry. 2.4 Family. Definition and universality. Family, household and domestic groups, function of family, types of family from the perspectives of structure, blood relation, marriage, residence and successions. Impact of urbanizations, industrializations and feminist movements on family. 2.5 Kinship, consanguinity and affinity, principles and types of descent. Unilineal, double, bilateral, ambilineal, forms of descent groups, lineage, clan, variety, moiety, and kindred. Kinship terminology, descriptive and classificatory. Descent, filiations and complementary filiation, descent and alliances. 3. Economic organizations, meaning, scope, and relevance of economic anthropology, formalist and substantivist debate principles governing production, distribution, and exchange, reciprocity, redistribution and market in communities subsisting on hunting and gathering, fishing, Sudaning, pastoralism, horticulture and agriculture, globalization and indigenous economic systems. 4. Political organization and social control, band, tribe, chiefdom, kingdom and state concept of power, authority and legitimacy. Social control, law and justice in simple societies. 5. Religion, anthropological approaches to the study of religion, evolutionary, psychological and functional, monotheism and polytheisms, sacred and profane, myth and ritual, forms of religion in tribal and peasant societies, animism, animatisms, fetishisms, naturisms, and totemisms. Religion, magic, and science distinguished magico-religious functionaries, priest, shaman, medicine man, sorcerer, and witch. 6. Anthropological theories. A classical evolutionisms, Taylor, Morgan, Fraser, historical particularisms, Boas, diffusionisms, British, German, and American. C. Functionalisms, Malinowski, structural functionalisms, Radcliffe Brown. D. Structuralisms, Levi-Strauss and Illich. E. Culture and personality, Benedict Mead, Linton, Gardiner, and Cora Du Bois. Neo-evolutionism, Childy, White, Stewart, Symes, and Service. Cultural materialisms, Harris, H. Symbolic and interpretive theories, Turner, Schneider, and Gritz. I. Cognitive theories, Taylor, Conklin. J. Postmodernisms in anthropology. 7. Culture, language, and communication. Nature, origin, and characteristics of language, verbal and non-verbal communication, social context of language use. 8. Research methods in anthropology. A fieldwork tradition in anthropology. B. Distinction between technique, method, and methodology. C. Tools of data collection, observation, interview, schedules, questionnaire, case study, genealogy, life history, oral history, secondary sources of information, participatory methods. D. Analysis, interpretations, and presentation of data. 9.1 Human genetics, methods and application. Methods for study of genetic principles in man-family study, pedigree analysis, twin study, foster child, co-twin method, cytogenetic method, chromosomal and karyotype analysis, biochemical methods, immunological methods, DNA technology, and recombinant technologies. 9.2 Mendelian genetics in man families, study single factor, multifactor, lethal, sublethal, and polygenic inheritance in man. Concept of genetic polymorphism and selection, Mendelian population, Hardy-Weinberg law, causes and changes which bring down frequency, mutation, isolation, migration, selection, inbreeding, and genetic drift. Consanguineous and non-consanguineous mating, genetic load, genetic effect of consanguineous and cousin marriages. Chromosomes and chromosomal abbreviation in man methodology, a numerical and structural abbreviation disorders. B. Sex chromosomal abbreviation, Klinefelter, XXY, Turner, XO, superfemale, XXX, intersex and other syndromic disorder. C. Autosomal abbreviation, Down syndrome, Plateau, Edward, and Cry-do-chat syndromes. The genetic imprints in human disease, genetic screening, genetic counseling, human DNA profiling, gene mapping, and genome study. 9.5 Race and racism, biological basis of morphological variations of non-metric and characters. Racial criteria, racial traits in relation to heredity and environment. Biological basis of racial classification, racial differentiations, and race crossing in man. 9.6 Age, sex, and population variation as genetic marker. ABO, Rh blood groups, HLA, HP, transferring GM, blood enzyme, physiological characteristics, HB level, body fat, pulse rate, respiratory function, and sensory perceptions in different cultural and socio-economic groups. Concept and methods of ecological anthropology. Biocultural adaptation, genetic and non-genetic factors, man's physiological responses to environmental stresses, hot, desert, cold, high altitude climate, epidemiological anthropology, health and disease, infectious and non-infectious disease, nutritional deficiency related disease. 10. Concept of human growth and development, stages of growth, prenatal, natal, infant, childhood, adolescence, maturity, senescence. Factors affecting growth and development: genetic, environmental, biochemical, nutritional, cultural, and socio-economic. Aging and senescence, theories and observation, biological and chronological longevity. Human physics and somatotypes, methodologies for growth studies, relevance of menarche, menopause, and other bioevents to fertility, fertility patterns and differential. Demographic theories, biological, social, and cultural, biological and social ecological factors influencing fecundity, fertility, natality, and mortality. 12. Applications of anthropology. Anthropology of sport, nutritional anthropology, anthropology in designing of defense and other equipments, forensic anthropology, methods and principles of personal identification and reconstruction, applied human genetics, paternity diagnosis, genetic counseling, and eugenics, DNA technology in disease and medicine, serogenetics and cytogenetics in reproductive biology. Paper 2, 1.1 Evolution of Indian Culture and Civilization, Prehistoric, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and Neolithic Chalcolithic, Protohistoric, Indus Civilization, Pre-Harappan, and Post-Harappan cultures, contribution of the tribal cultures to Indian civilization. Paleo, anthropological evidences from India with special references to Siwalkis and Narmada Basin, Ramapithecus, Sivapithecus, and Narmada Man. Ethno-archaeology in India. The concept of ethno-archaeology survivals and parallels among the hunting, foraging, fishing, pastoral, and peasant communities, including arts and craft producing communities. Demographic profile of India, ethnic and linguistic elements in the Indian population and their distribution. Indian population factors influencing its structure and growth, the structure and nature traditional Indian social system, Varnashram, Purushartha, Karma, Rina, and Rebirth. Caste system in India. structure and characteristics, Varna caste, theories of origin of caste system, dominant caste, caste mobility, future of caste system, Jajmani system, tribe caste continuum, sacred complex and nature man spirit complex, impact of Buddhism, Jainism, Islam and Christianity of Indian society, emergence, growth and development in India, contribution of 18th, 19th and early 20th century scholar administrators, contribution of Indian anthropologists to tribal and caste studies. 5.1 Indian village, significance of village study in India, Indian village as a social system, traditional and changing patterns of settlement and inter-caste relation, agrarian relations in Indian villages, impact of globalization on Indian villages. Linguistic and religious minorities and their social, political and economic status, indigenous and exogenous processes of social cultural changes in Indian society, Sanskritization, Westernization, modernization, interplay of little and great tradition, Panchayat Raj and social changes, media and social changes, tribal situation in India. Biogenetic variability, linguistic and socio-economic characteristics of the tribal population and their distribution, problems of the tribal communities, land alienation, poverty, indebtedness, low literacy, poor education facilities, unemployment, underemployment, health and nutrition. Developmental projects and their impact on tribal displacement and problems of rehabilitation, development of forest policy and tribals, impact of urbanization and industrializations on tribal populations, problem of exploitation and deprivation of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes, constitutional safeguards for scheduled tribes and scheduled castes. Social changes and contemporary tribal societies, impact of modern democratic institutions, development programs and welfare measures on tribal and weaker sections. The concept of ethnicity, ethnic conflicts and political developments, unrest among tribal communities, regionalisms and demand for autonomy, pseudo-tribalisms, social change among the tribes during colonial and post-independent India. Impact of Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam and other religions on tribal societies, tribe and nation state, a comparative study of tribal communities in India and other countries, history of administration of tribal areas, tribal policies, plans, programs of tribal development and their implementation, the concept of PTGs, primitive tribal groups, their distribution, special programs for their development, role of NGOs in tribal development, role of anthropology in tribal and rural development, contributions of anthropology to the understanding of regionalisms, communalisms, and ethnic and political movements.